I was thinking about 36 years of sobriety as it relates to 30 years of marriages. I wouldn't be married 30 years if I didn't have that sobriety.
Right. And I've always said, I likely, I stand by this. I wouldn't have dated you.
I agree with you.
Not sober. Because I'm risk averse and I'm safety Sam for a lot of reasons or whatever, and it just would have made me nervous because your personality is not risk averse anyway.
But then add alcohol.
So yeah. Add substance and you're like, wow. But
wheels off.
So you're right. I think that the way that all panned out, I'm grateful that you have 36 years of sobriety because then that allowed us to
have 30 years
and then have 30 years of
marriage.
Yes.
Shannon, here we are. Back in Texas.
Yes. Hello. We are back in Texas.
Yeah, we're gone a little over 3 weeks in California.
Yes, I kind of have the Balboa blues is what they call it when you have to come back to reality, and it's a great place to vacation, but I'm happy to be home.
I am too. And it's and we got back, we made the drive.
Yes.
The drive wasn't bad. I didn't mind that drive.
I have to say I quite enjoy being on the road. I enjoy driving to California way more than I enjoy driving to Austin, Texas.
It's weird. I'm the same thing. It's like, Austin 35 just sucks.
Right. It's just a bad highway. And I'm pretty sure that anyone listening that uses I-35 in Texas for any reason feels the exact same way. I don't think we're going to I don't think that's a hot take that we hate it. And people are going to be like,
it's necessary.
I love it. But it is, yes.
It is necessary.
It's a way.
But being back in Texas, our last episode, we talked about the messy middle. We unpacked that. We're going to discuss that a little bit today. But
we've got to, that's part of the messy middle is getting that unpacked. I mean, we kind of open the surface of just like defining messy, for me and for you and for people that it's like a wordsmith, like using words and figuring out.
Well, you don't even know this.
People.
You don't even know this. Before you got here to start this episode, I was talking to Melinda with Men and Nehemiah.
Yes.
And I was explaining the messy. I mean, she does a great job. She's the executive director of Men and Nehemiah. I think we've talked about it before, but I was talking to her about how to just step into the messy middle. Not even with the men that are in the program.
Did she say the same thing I said? Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't know what the messy middle, like, I don't.
Well, I did. I spent some time talking to her and explaining and giving some different exact examples and stuff like that. But it's wild because I really like this. It's attacking the feelings. It's holding space. There's so much to it. But today's episode is... I don't know how we're going to do. We've talked about it. We've planned it. We've unpacked some things loosely. But how I want to start this is literally as we drove back this past week was the day we arrived back in Dallas was our 30th wedding anniversary.
Yes.
And man, talk about 30 years.
Yeah. So it was our actual anniversary. And I don't, it's something to be said about when you choose a wedding date. I mean, a lot of times we wanted to get married in May, but the church and the reception site weren't available at the same time, whatever. And so we ended up getting married in August. And then that became kind of back to school, back to the grind, back to everything. And then very close to Labor Day. In fact, we got married and then took our honeymoon and we had that Monday off
which today's Labor Day for us.
Right. And then you started graduate school that Tuesday.
Yes.
Whatever date that was, but it was the Tuesday after Labor Day. And so it's always been kind of too busy for us to really celebrate and talk about it. So we've been used to just kind of like shift changing with the celebration of our anniversary. So it was no big deal to be in the car. You know what I mean?
I
were
thought
"Oh
of
my
this.
God."
I thought of this about our anniversary, and people say congratulations. And I have a personal anniversary 2 days after our graduation.
Yes, you do.
We've been married 30 years. Then 2 days later, on August 28th, I celebrated what?
36 years of sobriety.
Yes. And people, it's a milestone, and I appreciate it and stuff like that. But I was thinking about 36 years of sobriety as it relates to 30 years of marriages. I wouldn't be married 30 years if I didn't have that sobriety.
Right. And I've always said I I likely I stand by this. I wouldn't have dated you
I agree with you.
not sober because I'm risk averse and I'm safety Sam for a lot of reasons or whatever, but and it just would have made me nervous because your personality is not risk averse anyway.
But then
But
add
so
alcohol.
yeah,
Oh,
add substance and you're like, wow. But
wheels off.
so you're right. I think that yeah, the way that all panned out, I'm grateful that you have 36 years of sobriety because then that allowed us to
Have
meet
30
and
years
date and then have 30 years of
of
marriage.
marriage.
Yes.
And so I don't normally post, and you know that. And
Yes.
I'm on Instagram. I think I have a Facebook page. I don't even know how to get on it.
You do, but so I would love to. I need to do a deep dive. This is kind of a sidebar, obviously, but I need to do a deep dive on this. You can't really clear off your Facebook page. Like I have a friend that's so anti Facebook now, but had one 20 years ago, and she still gets birthday messages on Facebook because I keep Facebook on my computer and check it for some anyway college parent pages and things like that. But she would die if she knew that she was still getting birthday messages on Facebook because she said, I shut it down. I shut it down. Anyway, so that's a whole nother.
That was a little sidebar,
So
but
you're
yes.
not, but you're not on Facebook. You are still on Facebook, by the way. This is
Yes.
me breaking it to you that you are still on Facebook.
I just don't know how to get on. I don't have
Right,
my
okay.
password. I don't know
Yes,
what to do.
yes,
And
okay.
so I don't have a
So you don't post. You're not a regular social media guy. You don't have a TikTok.
I don't have TikTok.
You don't.
I got off Twitter.
Okay.
All those things.
But
But
you
I
have
did, when he talks about marriage, I did post in this quote that I read in this book when we were in California. It just stood out to me. And this is kind of what I want to.
You said when he talks about marriage. Who are you talking about?
When I read this book by John Mark Comer, Practicing the Way, and he quoted Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Okay. And so I'm going to just read what I posted.
Okay.
And it's, pictures of you and I. Wow, 30 years of marriage to my best friend and love of my life. Dietrich Bonhoeffer said to a young couple on their wedding day while he was in prison, today you are young and very much in love, and you think that your love can sustain your marriage. It can't. Let your marriage sustain your love. And I put, our marriage has done just that. So here's to another 30. But when you think of that quote, what do you think Bonhoeffer, now that you and I have 30 years of marriage?
Okay, so just read the quote one more time.
Today you're young and very much in love, and think that your love can sustain your marriage. It can't. Let your marriage sustain your love.
Right. Okay. So I agree with that. I think it's profound.
Yes.
So what are you thinking about that?
What I think about that is like, I was 26, you were 25. I was getting ready to continue grad school. You were working for Young Life. We were young.
Yes.
We were uh, going about life thinking, oh, everything's they life. We had some ups and downs. I was getting ready to celebrate 6 years of sobriety right
Yeah.
after our wedding
Yes.
day, and so I'd gone through some trials, some tribulations, and
Yeah.
liked my recovery. You had come back. You had gone to Alabama, come back to Dallas, um, and we dated long distance, and we dated long distance for 3 years. And for one of those years, we really didn't even see each other. We just talked.
Yeah, just kind of circumstantially. But I think that in that quote, it's like nice to define marriage, because I think even today, back then it wasn't as prevalent that everybody put so much energy into the wedding. I mean, we did put energy into the wedding, but it's even multiplied. And so people forget, like, kind of what when that quote says,
Let your marriage.
let your marriage, you kind of have to define marriage. Like, it's going to be messy.
It's going
And
to.
people hope their weddings aren't messy, because it's like, you don't want it to rain, you don't want it, you don't want bad things to happen on your wedding day or wedding weekend. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't want your wedding to be messy, but your marriage is going to be messy. So you have to kind of define marriage if your marriage is going to define your love. You know what I mean?
Yes. And so we had to learn, because our love was, we were young, and we didn't know that quote 30 years ago.
Right.
But now we can step back and go, man, what is our marriage? Our marriage is our commitment. Our marriage is stepping into the messy stuff, to understand, that you and I have gotten older, and we've had ups and downs, just physically, personally, emotionally, ups and downs as it relates to business, so many other
I
things.
think it's owning your shortcomings.
Yes.
And listening. And I think that because of your recovery and treatment, you did have some tools. You were like, you had leveled up with tools to own your own stuff, because they teach that heavily, correct?
In the 12 steps,
12
yes.
steps. It's like, personal inventories and owning your
Shortcomings,
shortcomings and all
character
that
defects.
stuff. Right. And I didn't have that background circumstantially. I wasn't in recovery. But so we were already a little leveled up, or you were a little leveled up on your communication, of owning your shortcomings, which is very hard. And then my, you know, Enneagram number is 2, and my mortal sin is pride. So it is hard for me I had to go into the messy middle to develop the skills to recognize when had some shortcomings that I needed to admit to. And then, pride gets in the way and all that kind of stuff. And then, but then it's that dance,
And so us understanding that dance, and so we went and celebrated on the 23rd.
It was Saturday night.
Yeah,
Yes.
Saturday night. Our anniversary is the 26th
Right.
of August. On the 23rd, we went to this great little restaurant in Balboa. And we're sitting there, and we're having, and I called ahead and said, hey, it's our 30th wedding anniversary. And so they knew, and it was
a tiny restaurant. And I have to throw this in, because you're going to tell the story. But so when we showed up, they said, oh, it's your anniversary. You can choose between 2 tables. And I would have chosen the other table. And you were like, no, let's be closer to the water. And I was like, well, it's kind of close to these other tables. And the other one was a little more intimate. And whatever,
More private.
more private. And then I got confused, and then we were like, "You chose that table by the water," and I was like, "Okay." And we sat down, and we were very. It was like we were dining with the table, two tables next to us on each side.
They
I
were
felt
that
like
close.
they were that close. Okay, so
But we had our own time and didn't
but
get
it's just
distracted.
interesting. That
Yes.
was a divine appointment that I let you. It's the push pull of marriage, even down to the like when we were first married. I probably would have been like bummed out, like said, "I really want to sit at the other table," and then you would have been like, "Well, okay," and we probably would have
There would have been some
a little
conflict.
conflict about just the table choice.
Yes.
And then I would be, early on, I probably would have been thinking, ugh, maybe he's not the right one for me. We can't even pick the same table, like the right table, like whatever. But anyway, so go ahead. So
So we're sitting there and we
chose the
have
table.
our appetizers, our meal, and we just ordered dessert. And there was this younger couple sitting next to us. And the guy was, right on your left, and the girl was right on my right.
Right.
Um, and he leans over and goes, "Did I hear y'all are celebrating 30 years, your 30th anniversary?" And we
Yeah.
go, "Oh, yes, we are." And they go, "Oh, we're celebrating 5 years. Do
Right.
you have any words of wisdom for a young married couple?" And so
Right.
we were asked the question, what do you do to sustain your marriage?
Right. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, putting us on the spot. And they've probably heard more than they're saying since they were right next to us. And we were probably talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. Who knows what we were
Yeah.
talking about? But
But I do believe it was a divine appointment.
I agree. I agree.
I
And
do
so
believe
he said that. And
we
so I'm facing her basically
catty corner and
catty
I'm
corner.
facing
I mean,
him.
we were basically at a four top. But he was next to me, and so I couldn't really see his eyeballs or his face, but I could see hers. And so when he asked the question, I said, "Well, I mean, I think we could start with you." And I was looking at her. I was like, "You need to know what you need, first of all. What do you need in marriage, in life? And then you need to know how to ask for that."
Well, you first. I want
Right?
to. I want
I
to.
don't
I want to say you first. You talked about being a woman and being a wife and
Yeah.
being a mom is a lot of times at you go my experience and just knowing other women, but you personalized it. My
Yeah.
experience is as women, we don't know how to ask for what we need,
Right.
and so
Right.
you really framed it up in a way that empowered her.
Yeah.
It's like, and you took it a step further and go, not even ask for what y'all might need as a couple and stuff like that. those
Right.
those are fine things, but what do you need in order to take care of yourself? And then you broke it down even more and you said, and learning how to ask for that, and that isn't selfish.
Right. And so that's pretty simple, you know what I mean? Like that's just a one sentence, pretty simple like thing, but I could see the light bulb go off in her eyes. Like she
Yes.
was like, "Oh my gosh." And it was like ding ding ding, like in 5 years of marriage I haven't, really thought about that.
And
But
so we started talking more, and I shared with them. I said, you got to learn how to listen to understand instead of listening to reply.
right.
And as we unpack that, and a lot of times we get busy with job, with kids, with all other things, and we don't listen to understand what's going on with our spouse. We need to really learn how to do that. And this couple's name, I'm going to give their name, is the guy's name was Jake, and the woman's name was Danielle. And as we unpacked more and found out what they do,
Right.
he's a youth pastor in LA at
Right.
this church, and she is finishing her counseling degree.
Right.
And
And that kind of I think they were a little surprised at our answers were pretty counselly, pretty coachy, you know,
yes,
but that's what we do. So I was like, they're either going to be like, oh, wow, why did we ask this question to counselor and a coach. Like, here, we're going to get therapy, right here. Or they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so great that we asked the question. And then that's what brought it up. We were like, well,
Yeah.
we're
And they asked what we're doing. And
what
so
we did. So then we got to find out what they did.
yeah. And so when we were talking to them, going back to the episode before, it was like the messy middle. The messy middle can be with people that you just met. We're
Right.
sitting there, and Jake, who we didn't know at the time when he asked this question, we didn't know he was a youth pastor.
Right.
And he's hearing our responses, and he asked more in a general way. He goes, "Are y'all spiritual?"
Oh,
He didn't
right.
ask. He asked in a real general way. It's like, hey, I'm gonna put my toe in, and I'm
Yeah.
fishing a little bit. And so many times, even in marriage, we fish. We put our toe in. We don't just come out and ask that.
Right.
Because how come, like we said on that last episode, the messy middle is like we're afraid. We have these fears, and we have these assumptions. And so we stay in that passive place or that impulsive place
Right.
instead of stepping into the messy middle and just being truthful. And when he asked that question, are y'all spiritual? And I just responded right away, hey, we love Jesus.
Yeah.
We didn't dance around it.
Right.
We talked about it right away. And then that's where it just gave him and his wife, both Jake and Danielle, oh, cool, man. I want to know more.
Well, I think because they based their marriage on a very spiritual foundation. And so, I mean, this can apply to anyone, but I think that they were like, oh, they based their marriage on a spiritual foundation also. So now we can really get into the messy middle. But had he not asked that, we probably would have just, kind of danced around. But then we kind of went deep. I mean, you went deep with her talking about counseling and all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of was talking to him about work. I've worked for churches before and Young Life and everything else. And we kind of I was able to talk to him about, you know, burning out and taking care of everyone else, because it's similar. Pastors are similar to therapists like you. Like, there's always someone with kind of a bigger crisis going on in your life but you have to learn as a married couple to say, "Hey, what about me?" and step into that, messy middle.
And we don't know all their history. It didn't come into a big, deep, but they did share with us that they have these two twin 2-year-olds that they're hoping, they've been foster parents.
Yeah.
They're hoping that they get to adopt them. And they know the history of these 2 little boys, and they asked for prayer about that and how to raise these 2 little twin 2-year-olds, and they're celebrating that. But you can also tell that, man, they're just hungry to have those boys.
Well, and they're going to be busier. And so the busier you get, I mean, in marriage, you're going to get busier, whether or not you have kids. It depends on whatever you're doing, and you still have to, you become one. I mean, in our, beliefs, but you also can lose yourself if you don't if you don't enter into that messy middle, like of expressing what you need and whatever, you can lose yourself. And I suffered from a little bit of that just with codependence. And we will talk a lot more about, we're not going to focus on my codependence on this episode, but it's part of the mess,
Yes. And so when we talked to him, we also talked about actual healing. When we really get to a place of healing is at that place of stepping into the pain. There's going to be pain in marriage, pain of maybe adopting these kids or having kids or not having kids or job situations, whatever the situation is. And I gave the example of of our neighbor who's the trauma orthopedic surgeon, one of the best in the country.
Right.
And I think he is. I'm not just saying that because he's
No.
my neighbor,
Yeah.
but he uh, fixes gunshot wounds. He fixes, shattered femurs and
Yes.
hips, and he has some patents, and he works for Southwestern Medical School. And 15 years ago, I was picking his brain as I was speaking at this national conference
Right.
about the opiate epidemic and
So
how.
y'all are just having a casual neighborly conversation with a brilliant medical mind.
Well,
Okay.
it wasn't just casual. I went over and asked his opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But I
and
mean, they've been our neighbors for a long time.
forever.
We're
Yeah,
friends.
yeah.
Friends and neighbors. But you're just setting it up that he's a brilliant medical mind.
Doctor. And I was asking his perspective about pain and the opiates and all
Yes.
that. And he looked at me and goes, Chico, the problem is if someone comes in with a smashed femur or I reconstruct a shattered hip, and I put it all back together and then we suture them back up and we just pump them full of opiates so they have no pain, that is not good. He goes, actually, pain is a good thing. Pain helps us to identify and recognize what needs healing.
Right.
And so if we're always covering up the pain, we don't know what needs healing. If I suture them back up
Yeah.
and they are so numb that an infection happens, I don't know to go back in there and clean that infection out.
Right.
And so the same thing is in marriage is like we
think a marriage should be pain free because it's like the second
the
pain,
love's going to
right.
sustain you.
And the second a painful situation comes up, which it will.
Yes.
Period. Hard stop. You can't avoid it.
No.
So that when the pain comes up, you're thinking, oh my gosh, have I made a terrible mistake? Or maybe the grass is greener, or I should get out of this, or I should numb my own pain. And you turn to substances or codependence or whatever it is that you're shopping
yes, or work. You can, which are you can turn to things that look healthy on the outside.
Sure, you can a runner. You can join a running club and be getting up every morning and running or whatever,
and just staying. Yes, you're going to be busy, but to stay so busy that you're spinning.
Avoid the pain,
avoid the messy middle.
You were talking specifically to
Danielle,
our neighbor. Our neighbor about the pain scale, and I think it's important to talk about the vital signs real quick.
So what I was talking to him about is in 1999, 2000, right when the opiate epidemic. I don't think
people know this, so it's important.
Right when the opiate epidemic started. Prior to that, when you and I were growing up, you go to the hospital, you do anything, there was 4 vital signs.
Right.
Blood pressure, heart rate, temperature, and respiratory rate.
Right.
Which are all just objective. You can't deny those.
Right.
And so what happened in 99, 2000.
You test them and you get a number and it's factual. Yes. It is.
So in 1999, 2000.
Just 1999, 2000.
Yes. They added a 5th vital sign.
Okay.
And the 5th vital sign's become so, it's everywhere. And prior to that, they didn't have this vital sign. And the 5th vital sign is you go into the doctor's office, we have little kids.
Or the hospital. I was in the hospital.
Is they have little faces and it's what's your pain, 0 to 10.
Right. And they'll say, and it's a smiley face. I've spent some time in hospitals.
And so it's like, what is your pain? So it's a pain scale, which is subjective.
Right.
And so they added that because we're a society that doesn't want to feel pain. And so if we're a society that doesn't want to feel pain.
Right. Yeah.
We bring that into marriages. Oh, we better not have pain, that our love's going to sustain our marriage. No, it's not.
Right. And something when they have the pain scale, because I have spent some time in real pain, not subjective or made up pain. And I've had to do that whole pain scale. And I think that you do want out of that pain, and you think that if you are in that pain, that there's something wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? And so I think in marriage, it's the same thing. If you are in pain, emotional pain in marriage, you think there's something wrong with your marriage.
When actually, if you step into the messy middle, and that's what we were talking to Jake and Danielle about, is stepping in, holding space, getting what it does is it gets clarity.
Right.
Because a lot of times in our 30 years of marriage, I have misinterpreted things that you have said.
Right.
And I've taken them more personal, and I've built a case. And I think I can't speak for you, but I think you have too as well.
Right.
You have my demeanor, what's going on. You've taken things, personal when it might not have anything to do with
And
you.
vice versa.
And I'm saying I was the
Yeah.
one that started that. I
Yeah.
have done that multiple times. And so for you and I, we've begun to really step into the messy middle. That's where our marriage is sustaining our love. Is like we step in there and really unpack
Yeah.
what, hey, Shannon, are you saying this? This is what I'm telling myself.
And also, when you talk about the holding space, if you're talking about like the pain scale analogy, which is a good one, it's like, so when I've been in the hospital and I have received pain relief, it's because they knew that I needed to sleep and rest. I didn't need to be in that pain to discover what was wrong with me. They had discovered what was wrong, and then it was time to rest. So there's a time to hold space. Like there's a time to like, dive into the pain and talk about it. And then there's also a time for some relief. And it's that dance again. It's knowing that there's going to be pain. There's knowing that there's going to be messy, and then there's asking for what you need. Like I usually, I don't know about you, but there are times when I just need space. If we have a painful scenario or
I'm laughing because you
situation,
do. You need space. We talked about it just the other night. Is like
I'm
when
not
I'm
going to
struggling.
relieve your pain with this
Yes.
situation. That's part of marriage. I need some space. It doesn't mean I'm going to walk out the door, pack my suitcase. It doesn't mean that I'm, whatever. I just need some relief. So,
What and I shared that the other night. Is I go, you need solitude, and that has nothing to do with me. You might be wrestling in whatever you're wrestling with, friends, your older parents, to your, to other family members, to what's going on with our boys, and it might not have anything to do with me. And you just need some solitude. I might be wrestling. Both
yeah,
of us brought into this marriage, and we've done some talks on this. Is how we brought baggage into the marriage
right,
that neither one of us packed. Someone else packed it for
right,
us. Is like, but I have, a family system that has a lot of different moving parts from my extended family.
yeah,
And sometimes for me, I might want some solitude, but really what I want from you, and I have to ask for it, just like
yeah,
you talked about earlier, is I just want a hug. I need that physical touch.
yeah,
And I recognize that I need that physical touch, but that doesn't mean that you're the same as me. You
right.
don't need physical touch. And it's not that you don't like physical touch and you're just in any of
Well,
those things.
right.
But in those moments,
Yeah.
you need some solitude. You need some space. You
And
you need to, and you speak up for that today more than you did
well,
25
sure,
years ago.
because I was going to say the kind of the secret sauce, if you're talking about longevity and marriage, it kind of is just hitting me a little bit. But when you're dating, you have the opportunity to have some solitude because you can say, I don't want to go out tonight. I don't want to, whatever. And then early in marriage, though, you are, you know, trying to build on that love and love and love. And so I was more touchy, probably early on. Okay, I know.
You
Anyway,
she was.
but okay. So, but it's like you're sustaining that, and the spontaneity is also great, and you just want that, and you just but because you can get the solitude time, and then you're running on, but the sustainability is that you have to recognize that, you know, spontaneity can be great. And then you can go back to, oh, I remember when we used to just, you know, take off our clothes and jump in the pool or whatever, which we haven't really ever done. But,
No. We have.
well, okay,
Yeah,
anyway.
when you say we've never done, that's not
It
true.
has to
We
be pitch dark and whatever, but that's a whole nother story. But what I'm saying is that as you sustain and figure out what you need, the solitude becomes few and far between because you are living life together. I mean, we are like one. We are like up in each other's kitchen all the time or whatever. So you might have to schedule some things,
yes.
and that's okay. It's like, if I can say, "Hang on, I need a little solitude, but maybe on Wednesday night we can, have a romantic dinner and romantic nighttime or whatever." Like,
What you're saying is be intimate.
yes, maybe we can be intimate or whatever.
we
But
told
anyway,
we told
and
Jake and
it's
Danielle
okay
that.
to but it's okay to step into that messy conversation instead of being like,
She never wants it
she never
or all
wants
that,
it, and I'm
build a
like,
case
"Oh
against
my
the
god,
other.
like, why is it all the time?" And then
But here's the situation
okay,
is like
so
when you can step into the messy middle, you have this opportunity. It doesn't take away from the spontaneity of being intimate. It
right,
really, I think, in some ways, adds to it. And then it intimacy. I love the definition of intimacy. It's not just sexual. Intimacy is into me you see. I like that simple definition.
right,
To sustain the marriage is like we can step in to the messy middle about extended family, about other things, and it is not an that um, sexual intimacy. It's an emotional.
right.
It's a
Feeling
feel.
seen and feeling heard, and
Yes, and so there are some things that
feeling allowed, giving permission to just, like, step aside for a second, or, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
get some solitude, not step aside, but you know what I mean? Like,
but give yourself as like, okay, I might be more physical touch and you are not that. That doesn't mean that's the other thing that as couples, and I'm gonna overgeneralize, because most of the time men are more physical touch than women.
yes.
Okay, and so that doesn't mean that your wife does not desire you or want to be with you intimately. It just means how do you hold space for her where she feels seen and heard. And when I think, and I'm throwing it out there for the whole world to hear if they
Oh,
do hear,
great.
is like when I do that, I believe you are more open. When I don't do that, you aren't more open.
Right. I mean,
And
everybody's gonna, throw up defense mechanisms or resistance and resist, because when I have to go against my grain, I need I need to feel safe in that. And if it's against my grain, there's a reason it's against my grain. Probably, you know, childhood, whatever experiences maybe, or
well, I
personality,
like that
or
book that you're reading that just talks about the seven deadly sins for women. What is it?
yeah,
What is the name of that book? I like it.
on our best behavior.
On our best behavior. Yeah. And it just talks about, and I've listened to some of it with you. I've read parts of it. Uh, but it's just those old messages that women get. Messages that men get are different.
Yes,
They're
right.
not healthy.
We're not supposed to envy. We're not supposed to
Lust.
lust and uh sloth and
greed or
greed or
anger.
whatever, like the 7 deadly sins. And so women have just been like conditioned to not anger, whatever, like not commit the 7 deadly sins when it's like, it's not, anyway,
It
that's a whole nother talk. But yeah, we've been conditioned not to be too touchy. Then it looks like we're lustful and we get labeled like,
or slut. Yeah.
yes. I mean,
And so it's like,
get really negative labeling on all of that.
and
But
it's so in marriage, talking about the marriage sustaining, is the messy middle is learning how to, talk about those things, learning how you let me in, and it wasn't anything that, someone did or said to you. It's just those old messages that you let me in as a man to understand you better.
right,
And when we talk about doing the work is being at that place where you can hold space for the other,
yeah,
for them to share. It doesn't mean what they're sharing is true or not true. It is true to them. And it might be some false messages that they've been living with for you 55 years.
right, right. Or
And
just some different, you develop, you know, uh, I guess coping mechanisms, but not even really coping mechanisms. Like, I don't know what to attribute the fact that I don't need to touch people all the time. I mean, I don't know what, I mean, it's probably a mixture, nature, nurture, all the things or whatever. But in marriage, when you view that as like when you come in the house after work and I don't jump up and wrap my arms and legs around you, like
and,
hug
and
up,
I'm not
it's because
I'm not asking for that,
I
but
know you're
that's how
not,
you
but
process it.
there's a there's a messy middle, there's a tension when you would love that.
I would love that, but
You
I
would
would.
love it, and but I don't, it doesn't come to the forefront of my, I mean, I'm not thinking, "Oh, Chico's home. I should hug him." I'm not, because it's not a go-to for me. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
But when you express, "That would be nice." I would love that. I would love that.
And
You
when I
just said it
express,
now.
yeah, and when I
Then I
express,
try to think of it more, but it just is not on my,
it's
does
not
that make sense?
it's not your go-to.
Right,
Yes.
at all.
It's not your
So,
go-to, but for me to understand that it's not your go-to, but that doesn't mean you're here's where the messy middle is, because if I don't share that, hey, when you don't do that, I tell myself you're rejecting me, which is, it's just what I'm telling myself.
I know.
That's those thoughts
But
and
when
those
you share that
feelings.
with me, then I do think about, I try to think about it
Yeah.
more because
But that doesn't mean you're rejecting me.
yeah,
That's just the misconception that I have.
right.
And so to to let your marriage sustain your love, not your love sustain your marriage, is getting to that place of stepping into the messy middle, that pain, that place
Yeah,
that it's kind of dirty. It's scary. It's going to expose, like what Adam said, Dr. Starr said, it's going to expose if there's an infection going on,
right.
and we need to clean out the infection. That doesn't mean we don't
And
need
not let it
meds.
fester
Yeah.
because then you're hosed
And in the Gottman Institute, the
medically and
Gottmans
emotionally.
talk about that is that it's not people that fight. It's none of those things that leads to divorce. What leads to divorce is just this slow kind of drip of just not really I believe not really stepping into the messy middle,
Right.
not stepping in there and having those conversations and unpacking and seeing, man, this is what I'm telling myself. I'm not saying it's true or not true,
Right.
but to begin to do those things.
Can I give a real time
I would
kind of
love it.
small example?
Yes.
Okay, so um I am orderly, as you know, and kind of everything has a place, and I like for things to be in their place or whatever. But so um I appreciate you so much. A tile came off of our pool. And so you went did you go buy things?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bought the stuff.
Okay, so to fix it, and you came home and you fixed it. You fixed the tile on the pool, which I'm so happy about. And then it poured rain last night. And I noticed this morning that the hammer, my shiny hammer, I say my because I probably use it more, but maybe not. But the shiny hammer is out
Was
there.
left outside.
It's left out there along with everything else, but whatever. But in the rain, and I'm like, the last thing I want is a rusty hammer. But early in marriage, I probably just wouldn't have said anything. I would have been like, oh my God, like the wet hammer, it's gonna get rusty, and then whatever. But I was like, oh my gosh, I need to just either express that later, say, please don't leave the hammer out in the rain because it'll rust and it'll be like our other hammers that we have that are rusty. But, or I will just dry it off and not hold a resentment, you know? Um, and, and not worry about it. And that's kind of what I decided. I was like, well, I'll let it kind of dry out. But that's a real life example of I know that I can say that to you now. I can
Yeah,
say,
and for
"Why'd you
me,
leave
not
it out?" And you wouldn't be like,
to get
"At
defensive.
least I fixed it. Are
Yeah,
you not gonna thank me for fixing it?" Or whatever could
yeah.
get into the messy middle. Instead, I could say,
Well, I don't know if that's the messy middle. I think that's more the impulsive. If I said, "Well, you not even notice that," it's like that's not the messy middle. Is actually that place of clarity. Yeah.
right, I forgot. Last episode, we talked about impulsive and passive, and we'll get
Yes.
more into that. But
Yeah.
that's just an example I was gonna
I
share
I
with you
like
right now.
that example, and you know what? When you share that example, I have healthy conviction. It's like I go, man, I do. I want to pick it up, not because it's your hammer or
Right,
anything like that. It's like, no, that's our stuff. And I want to
right.
value our stuff. And I don't want to take it personal. And I got so focused on the gorilla. It wasn't glue, but it was the stuff, and it got all over my fingers, and I scrubbed for over 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
and then I got hungry, and
gloves,
then I
gloves.
ate, and then
Yeah,
I forgot about it
I
out
get it.
there. And when you came home yesterday, I was taking a nap afterwards.
Yeah,
And so it was like, but you shared that story, and I go, man, I'm not taking it personal attack. I'm not taking it that I'm not good enough or that she thinks less of me or
yeah.
any of those
And I'm
things.
not building a resentment at all
And it's like,
because
man, I want to take care of
yeah,
our stuff.
yeah,
And so I think that's a good place. That's where the marriage sustains the love. It's
yes,
like being able to go, she's not attacking me. We do. I want to take care of our stuff too,
yeah,
and I was kind of encouraged for me fixing it. And I went over and checked the tile, and all of them are down there. And it's like,
yeah,
I don't need to go, hey, look at what I did. And I am saying it
yeah.
right now.
No, it's good. It was a good job.
Yes.
Good job.
And so for this episode, I like it. If you have comments, if you want to know more, if you want us to unpack what sustaining the marriage is, if you want to go, how do you step into this on all the questions, from family to kids to finances to sex, we will help you learn how to unpack those things.
Yeah,
So ask for that. Tell us in the comments, and we can do that. And we can give you personal examples as well.
right. Perfect.
So
Yeah, I think
thank you
this
for
is good.
today's episode.
Yeah.
Happy 30 years of marriage.
Yes, there's your secrets to success.